And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and I'm your only host tonight, Nate. Or today, I guess. It's fucking early in the morning for me. It's kind of night for you. I've got Ben. I'm so stoked to have you on, brother. This is your second time on, but we did like a panel episode last time, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. I'm so stoked to have you back, dude. Why don't you introduce yourself to my audience again so they know who you are and like the – yeah, okay, go for it.
Thanks for having me back on. Thanks for having the patience more so. But yeah, so hey, I'm Ben, Merlin Mofo, the Soul Whisperer, banned on TikTok numerous times, banned on Twitter. So social media kind of, the place where you get free, you can voice your own opinions and free speech. That's bullshit. So yeah, just here to help people get back into soul, to see through the illusion of life. And yeah, so Nate, thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So we were just talking about you getting banned off of TikTok, and how the hell do you get banned off of Twitter? Like, I say outrageous shit on there, and I haven't gotten kicked off of Twitter yet. Well, I get shadow banned. Like, there's this website where you can check, and like anything that if I leave a comment or I post a photo under somebody else's thing, it's automatically censored. And so it'll say this is like flagged content, but you can click on it and look at it. They just make it inconvenient, that sort of thing. But they haven't kicked me off. What did you do?
Just going back probably about 18 months ago, got a bit vocal on there. And for some reason, I got banned for I think it was about a week. I came back on like you, shadow banned. And then you're like, what's the fucking point? I'm pissing in the wind here, Nobody's seeing anything. The traction isn't there, so I'm just wasting my energy to an empty audience, So that was the end of Twitter for me. And to be honest, mate, it's just like for robots. I don't know if you've noticed, they just say the same shit over and over again.
Yeah, it's a bunch of shit, dude. I mean, I'm slightly hopeful that we're gonna get like a couple months of fun out of Elon Musk taking over Twitter. This could be fun. Like, I have no hope that this is going to restore free speech. I have no hope that Elon Musk is going to do anything great. But I think that he's going to give us a chance to be assholes again for a couple of months. That's what I think. And it's going to be great.
He probably will. And you know what? It's going to cause so much more division. Right? And
well, that's the problem. It's done. Like, my buddy was posting, because you remember, like, this happened, like, I don't know, a week ago? Like a week ago, I think it was almost a week ago, where he was selling blue checks, right? And then people just started the ultimate troll game. And it was fucking amazing. There was like a blue check certified like Donald Trump there. There was a blue check certified like Jesus Christ. There was like, and they were just saying all kinds of outrageous shit. And the best ones where there was a pharmaceutical company and whatever the fuck they were called. And they're like, we're just going to give our diabetes medication out for free. and then, dude, they lost it. They were like, somebody's right. This isn't us. Actually, we're upcharging our fucking diabetes medication. And like, dude, the PR, like people's stocks were plummeting. It was fucking awesome. Right. Like, that is the kind of shit that gives me a boner. Fuck porn. I want to start seeing some fucking stocks dip. I want to see some fucking capitalist bullshit crash to the ground. It was fucking awesome, dude.
So the argument method behind the madness then.
Oh, go for it.
No, okay, well, because one of the things I was bringing up on TikTok, and this caused a bit of a shitstorm, was like, right, so everybody's talking about, right, we're in the Matrix, and I want to get free of the Matrix. But I'm going to follow Billy Carson, right? I'm going to follow these blue tick checks like Edward Snowden. He's a truther. And the point being...
Did you say Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
Right? I don't trust that motherfucker at all.
No chance.
At all.
Right. So the point being was, and people don't... And this is the logical mind that we need, right? Is that if they're trying to help us get out of the system, why the fuck is the system giving them a blue tick, right? Making them influencers over millions of minds. It doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? So you got all these people buying in saying, yeah, but he said this and he's got a blue check, so he's got to be right, you know. It's so I basically on the TikTok I just said, look, be careful if you've just woken up, you know, be careful of who you follow, you know.
Ben, how many of those people even exist? Like the people that'll say like, I have to believe him, he has a blue check. Those type of people, like, I'm not kidding when I actually think that there's NPCs. I think they're fucking fake. I don't think they're real.
No, I mean, okay, how do you define real? Living, breathing? Well, that's it. This is where it gets nitty gritty, dude. So
that's not real to me. I swear to God, they're just meat avatars. They're not fucking real. I think that they have flesh and blood and you can poke them, but I don't think that there's anything upstairs. I think they're just programs.
Yeah, just remotely controlled, literally remotely controlled.
Now, I'm not for everyone listening to this, I'm not advocating, therefore you can do whatever you want to them because they're not real or some kind of weird, like, no. But I'm just saying, like, I sincerely don't think that they exist.
We don't, honestly, we don't know. They're just projected images to us, aren't they? And that's it.
And that projection comes through the form of a meat suit, maybe, you know, because it's highly advanced, like simulation. So if I poke them in the forehead, maybe they're like, they are designed to feel it. They can feel me poke them, and my finger can has a sensation. But I don't know, man. There's so many people that are just empty. There's not much to them, and
that's right.
I don't know, dude. It's a weird thing because then does that make me some sort of like psycho thinking that I'm real? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Because I think I'm real. As far as I know, I'm real. But how the fuck do they know?
Yeah. Okay. So again, go back to that defining what is real, right? And it's not a thought; it's a feeling. Right. So you told me you've got a 1-year-old son.
Yes.
You love him, right?
Yes.
That is the realest thing that you're going to feel. But that feeling that you feel towards your son is how you should feel about you as well. Does that make sense? So that's that magnet, that soul, that pull, that is what makes us real, really real. Everything else is just bullshit, just words, consciousness, collective consciousness. We're getting into totally a big plethora of illusions then, you know?
It's a weird thing, man, because, like, you know, I've had many conversations with Gnostic folks. And so, like, people that think that this is a prison planet, I've talked to the folks that think that this is a simulation, and I think that there's a big deal of crossover there. I think they're just talking about it in different ways. But to me, so many of those folks are talking about this place like it's a negative. I fucking like it here. Like, if as far as I know, I only get one fucking round here. Like, this might be my only game. If I get a game over, who the fuck knows what happens? I don't know. I like to think we get a game over, we get to come back, or we get to go somewhere else. I don't know. But I'm fucking enjoying my time here. Like, so many Gnostic folks are like, this place is hell. This place is pretty fucking sweet for hell. Well, if this is hell, I'll take it.
Okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And you know what? I deal with a lot of clients as well. And there's a lot of people that get stuck in the mind trap, right? And if you let go of that shit of needing to control everything, right, and just being rather than trying to just exist or do stuff within it, just be who you are authentically, life becomes a lot easier. And this is the issue, is that when we're born, right, we come out of the womb crying, right? And it's not maybe necessarily because we're out of mum's womb, right, out of that bubble, you know. But maybe it's actually the fact that our soul was like, fuck, we're here again. You know, okay, just to fill you in on my side of my beliefs, it feels like we are in a prison planet, that it is a recycling loop, a non-stop loop. And yeah, our purpose is to break free. But you know what? We can have fun in doing that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be dreary.
No, it doesn't. And a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, but that's a belief of yours." You say don't believe in stuff. I say, yeah, exactly. I don't. Okay, so I'm on the fence. Be on the fence with it. Don't energetically buy into it. Like I don't wake up every morning and just the alarm goes off and I'm like, shit, I'm in jail. It's not the first thing I think. I just get up and crack on, but it's there.
It's fascinating, dude. Like, I'm so fucking practical and logical in so many ways where I'm like, okay, so this is a fucking prison planet. I'm stuck here. I can't escape. Even if I kill myself, I don't know what'll happen. Like, I'm not suggesting anybody kill themselves trying to escape this prison.
No.
Just putting that out there. Because sometimes when you talk about that, like, it starts getting alluded to. Like, I've talked to a couple people. Anyways, nobody hurt themselves. I'm being very explicit. Don't do that. Okay. But so I don't know what would happen to me if I did. But man, as far as the practicality goes, it's like, well, I'm stuck here now. So I'm going to make the fucking most of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the best time I fucking can. Dude, my kids are fucking awesome. My oldest one's an asshole, but I still love him a lot. He's at that age. But like, dude, like, pretend that this is a video game. And anyone that's depressed and thinks that we're stuck in a video game, okay, pretend this is a video game. Get the most out of this video game you can. Start like paying attention to the rules. Start what do you want out of life? Fucking make it happen. Like, consider this YOLO. You got one fucking life. Pretend this is. And then maybe you get to come back and maybe it's better. I don't know. But have a good time while we're here. Don't get stuck, like you were saying, in those fucking mindsets where you're just like, I fucking hate this. This sucks. And you're like, okay, well then make it not suck.
Yeah.
Only you can decide that. Only you can make that happen.
Agreed. And you know what? At the moment, mental health is really on a dip. And you know what? Unfortunately, suicides are going to go up. It's all part of this New World Order agenda, this whole thing that's playing out. Look how much shit is broadcast into people's minds. Right, you go through TikTok, you go through whatever, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. It's all just there. And you permanently, people flicking through and just perpetually taking in information. So, yeah, a lot of people are losing the plot. Now, what they want us to do is to end ourselves. Because guess what? Your soul isn't on planet. Your soul isn't in body. And when we're in body, we become very magnetic. And that's how we change this reality. Now, I don't believe we're in a simulation. Why the fuck would they want us to believe we're in a simulation? Because that is what
they are really pushing that, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Just like, what was it, Free Guy? They've got that film out with Ryan Reynolds.
That was a Gnostic as fuck film, dude.
Tell me about it, dude. Big time.
Yeah.
If you look
I really enjoyed that movie, actually. I thought it was pretty good. But yes, absolutely. They were trying to sell you some bullshit.
They are. So, okay, why would they tell you you're in a simulation?
Do they want you to off yourself?
What they want, okay, so
because it's like, if nothing matters, if we're in a simulation, then what the fuck does anything matter? You were not specially created. You're not special. There's nothing unique or interesting or like beautiful about you or existence. Exactly. This is all just a fucking video game. Nothing fucking matters.
Exactly. So you don't honor yourself, and you then come into the belief system that, shit, am I just an NPC? But Donald Trump, he must be like, God mode and this and that. Doesn't it ever, I see all these conspiracies saying Donald Trump, he's an angel, he's this, he's that, or all these different celebrities have got, like Elon Musk, they're key players in the game. They're fucking not. They are.
For everyone listening, if you're venerating any famous person, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, big time. Big time. They are not interested in you. They do not care about you. They fundamentally are the supporting pillars of this illusion. They are broadcasting their beliefs to depower you at the core. So yeah, it's sorry.
If there's anything like a jinn or a fucking demon or what do the Gnostics call them? You know what I'm talking about. I can't think of them right now. Yeah, if those things exist, Donald Trump's one of them. Elon Musk is one of them.
Yeah, even if he's got a soul or not, I don't know.
He's the good guy billionaire. He's super red pilled, and he's going to save freedom of speech. He just bought Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, and he wants to put a chip in your head. So why don't you shut up the fuck up?
Exactly.
And he pretends, dude. My biggest problem with Elon Musk, well, I have a few things. First of all, he wants to put a chip in my head. But the second thing is he keeps the lie that we're going to outer space. He's so to me, he's a fucking liar.
Yeah. He is outright.
The Archons. That was the word I was looking for.
Oh wait, yeah, Archon.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Elon Musk is an Archon.
Well, okay, do you know what? Everybody talks about Neuralink, right? And we're all kind of sort of hyper-focused on this AI. Yeah, the current AI. And the whole purpose of that is, as we're becoming more self-aware, right? We've been given the label of humans, right? That we're a human. But again, if you go in and look at what a human means, it means a monster in Black's dictionary. So everything that we've been told is a lie. So this whole AI thing, the Neuralink, they don't need to put chips in our head. They can already control us through electromagnetic fields. So everybody's super focused on these robot dogs, Elon Musk, Neuralink, whatever. It's already fucking happening. So yeah.
So you think that that was like part of the? So that's interesting because people are talking about 5G, right? And so that's the Internet of Things. And I've been talking to enough folks talking about 6G. That's supposed to be the Internet of bodies, basically, right? Where they're trying to interconnect all of those little, whatever those nanoparticles that they put in us so that they can read our biometrics, that we can connect to the grid, things like that. And so, I mean, a lot of people suppose that thing came from the poke. And I think that that's part of it. I think that they probably put some funky shit in the poke. Let's see here. Yeah, Elon Musk put a head of a goat on, for fuck's sake. Yes, that is true, Wendy.
Is it all Wendy? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting, dude, because I think that they've been putting that shit in our food. I think they've been putting that shit in our water. I think they've definitely been spraying that shit in the air. So people that think that they're safe just because they didn't get the woke poke, they didn't get their, their Trump shot or their Brandon booster. I think that you are going to be sadly mistaken. I think that our bodies are full of that shit. And, dude, the scary thing to me is whatever they put into their body that's creating those proteins, right? They're these spike proteins. Those are the type of things that don't those are the type of things that it doesn't die because it's not alive, that protein, right? So I think about this because it's like it's essentially like if you took some some meat from a cow that had mad cow disease and you cooked the fuck out of it. It still has it in there because it's still that protein. And so you can still eat it. And I'm like, man, they made it to where it's like a part of their cellular structure. And I'm like, is that going to fucking go into like their urine? And so they're going to pee it out. And then it's going to go into the water supply. And then it's going to go into like, I think that we're all basically fucked. Whoever these Archons are, like I don't know if they're human, if these people are human, why would they make a decision to do something that can't be taken back and is affecting the entire planet? And we're just going to find out what happens. So somebody was telling me that this is like more to do with like the shit that they're doing with the weather. All of this stuff is, what's the word I'm looking for? Getting the planet ready for something else, not for us.
Okay. Let's say it's to do with the transhumanist agenda, right? Okay,
yeah.
Let's say it's to do with, right, so let's look at all the spiritual law. We'd say, hey, look, I'm meditating and I'm getting all these DNA upgrades, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go into my light body, all this shit that's being cast out. If you look at it, the transhumanist agenda is about changing the DNA, right? the spirituality lot are talking about DNA upgrades, right? It's the same thing, left and right.
Dude, it meets in the middle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of those spiritual people that are supposedly for the light, they're absolutely flirting with this shit and promoting it.
Big time. Dude, they didn't even know it. And you know what? I'm not criticizing it. I'm not judging them. I used to be like that about 7 years ago. I believed in all that shit because it happened to me. I lost all my hair, had alopecia, was totally neurally attacked by AI. So I was then pushed into the whole spiritual side, the chakra realignment bullshit. And honestly, when you let go of that, right, because again, it's another form of control. It's a matrix within a matrix within a matrix. It's non-stop of just illusions. And their end game is total soul suppression. So the 5G and the 6G that you're talking about, that is total suppression of soul. So if you die, they can just pull in another meat suit, another NPC, and they don't need that soul. So
It's fascinating, man. I've had a conversation with a gentleman, a smart guy, and he's really all about this this upcoming divine feminine is what he's calling it. So he thinks this divine feminine is coming back. And the idea of it sounds interesting. And we had this like really unique conversation. But at the end of it, he's just like, it's going to bring destruction and it's a good thing and it needs to come. And I'm like, I'm very pro whatever I am, I'm pro-human.
okay.
Like, I think we're the most important. Like, if we're not here to experience the planet, I don't give a fuck about it. So like people are talking about like humans are a cancer on this planet. Humans are, things like the world would be so much better off without us. I'm like, it doesn't, who gives a fuck about it if it doesn't have us? If I'm not here to enjoy the sunshine, then fuck it. And it might as well burn. I don't care. Not me personally, but as humans, like, I think that this is made for us. I don't know, dude. I think that a lot of the spirituality, like you're saying, it's weird and anti-human in nature.
Very much so. Very much. Okay, so divide and conquer, Nate, across the board. Anything that divides and conquers is meant to. Thank you, Liberty. Very kind. So, yeah, everything is designed to divide and conquer. Everything. And divide, right, the male and female, okay, you can obviously say about the genitals, of course, it's a no fucking brainer. But the divine masculine, the divine feminine, again, that's part of the agenda. Now, when you get back into soul, right, when you live from the soul as opposed to the brain and the programming, right, you become that magnetic pull. Now, I don't believe it is about divine masculine and feminine because, again, that's going to cause divide and conquer between men and women. No different than blacks and whites or, gays and straights. It's the same fucking thing. So it's actually another divide and conquer very cleverly incepted by those that control this illusion. It is about soul and the soulless. It is literally that, magnetic, electric, and it's the two. And we are fighting for our magnetic core, our soul, our life force, which allows us to experience this human experience. Excuse me for saying that, but that's it, dude. That is it. Strip everything away.
What are your thoughts on? So, is there existence outside of this realm?
Yeah.
You think there's higher?
Okay, and this is another one. Funny enough, Chris on Forbidden News. Forbidden Knowledge.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. We love Chris. Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, thanks for having me on, dude. He asked me. Well, we were talking about the higher self, and remember, everything is about the mind and controlling the mind. And so when you're saying higher self, or these people are talking about the higher self, they're actually subliminally telling themselves that they're not good enough, right? That, okay, I'm lower because you're higher and mightier than me. But we are the daddies in respects of the soul, right? And this whole illusion is about keeping us totally in an amnesiac state of just being an NPC. So, okay, as far as the other realms are concerned, without a doubt, I feel that there is more than we are aware of visually through the spectrum of light, which is just electromagnetism again. And of course, beyond the pole, well, I say the pole, beyond the wall, you have an inner Earth as well. There's so much probably that goes on that we don't know inner Earth. It's a big illusion. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it is fucking fascinating. I've had some conversations with some folks, and they're talking about like astral realms, and they're talking about like things that we can maybe, if we can like pop out of our meat suit briefly, we can explore these higher realms. And they just would say that we're at the bottom. Like whatever this is at the higher, lower, whatever, we're the lowest. And I'm like, what does that say about us? Like, you know, and that's an interesting thought where it's like, that's keeping you down, assuming that we're at the bottom. And it's a way of saying we're not good enough. And I mean, that was kind of the feel I got, you know, like we're the lowest of the low.
Right. And look, and how many films or movies or TV shows have we seen where aliens come and say, oh, humans are not ready for this because they're destructive in nature, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit we are. The leaders take us into war. We go and kill people because we're told to do so. The most brainwashed people are the fucking army, right?
Yeah, no, every time that they talk about the worst, they're talking about themselves. Like, yeah, it's our fucking leaders that will say things like, well, you guys are just using so much oil. Look how bad you are. And I'm like, there is alternatives. You forced us on oil, you cunt. Like, you made this entire infrastructure where we're forced to use fucking oil. There was water. We could have used probably hemp. We could have used alcohol. We could have fucking probably used some weird energetic shit that I don't understand. There was a million other options. You guys are cunts. You guys forced us on oil, and now you're pointing the finger at us and saying we're bad because we're trying to stay alive during winter. No, how about fuck you?
Yeah.
You're the bad one.
Nicely said. I want us to think we have no power and we are a speck of dust. Exactly.
100%.
Yeah. Facts made for us. Very true, by the way. So yeah, it's and it is the mind. So like some people, I argued on a post. I say argued. Somebody posted out the other day on TikTok, right? And it said the title was. I said the other day, probably about 2 months ago. The title was 5 signs you have broken free of the matrix, right? And before I even started reading it, I was like, it's a viral post, right, which had about, I don't know, 500,000, likes and shit and loads of comments. You haven't broken free of the matrix. It's just an extension of the fucking matrix. Just like this. And again, it's not criticism, it's not judgment, but the beliefs that we're breaking free. And again, people that talk about, I'm free of the matrix because I believe in Jesus and Jesus saved me. What? You don't think Jesus is part of the freaking matrix? Hello? It's.
Yeah, man, it's fucking fascinating how much things are fucking co-opt, and like anything that is like widely mainstream accepted is bullshit. And so, I mean, I was raised very Christian. Then I went very hard atheist, and then I came back to whatever the hell I'm at right now, where I call myself a Christ follower. I think Jesus was awesome, and I think that he was a good person to emulate. And I think that you should love your neighbor as yourself, and you should be peaceful in interactions. And I think that's where I'm at right now. And
again, it's not criticizing. I went to a very Christian school as well. I was brought up like chapel 5 times a week, non-stop. But the issues that I've got with it is that everything is Chinese whispers, right? Everything. So what color is this? We've been told, you can't see it because the green screen. Right, but we've been told that's white, right? But what happens if it's blue? What happens if it's green? And so this is the point of programming: is that okay? So we know that Jesus fed the 5,000, but did he? We don't know this. Do you know what I mean? So I agree with you in respects of loving others, but if you don't truly love yourself, right? How can you love somebody else when you don't know what true unconditional love is? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that was sort of where I was going with it. It's that we don't have the whole story.
No.
None of us do. And anything that is widely accepted, is bullshit. So anything that we see as the Bible, unfortunately, I think was accumulated and by these psychopaths that wanted power. And these were like, here's the acceptable verses, and these are going to keep you in chains and going to keep you coming back to us for the answers. And you're going to have to be obedient, right? I mean, that whole thing, like Romans 13, where you're supposed to like pray for your, well, basically like the government is put in charge over you. God put that government in place. So therefore obedience to government is obedience to God. And I'm like, well, Jesus had a thing or two to say about that, because he was fighting the Pharisees and disobeying every single law. He was basically an anarchist. So
yeah. Well, do you know what? I've kind of got a theory on the Jesus side myself. I put this out on TikTok a few weeks ago. It rubbed up a few people the wrong way. And do you know what? I love it. I won't lie. And do you know, being open-minded, open-hearted, it's about you. It's about you, Nate. It's about me as individuals, not anybody else, really. And okay, so what's to say? Right now, let's look at what people talk about, how they talk about Jesus. A lot of people are waiting for Jesus' return. Jesus had 12 disciples. He then died mysteriously. Those 12 disciples then, you could arguably say, were in a cult. Right? This cult has been forming for 2,020 years. You could arguably say that this, again, don't forget what we're told and we're taught about, is what they want us to know. So if they want us knowing about Jesus, if they want us following Jesus, you could arguably say that we've been pushed into a cult. Maybe he is also the founding father of Freemasonry, of, you know, the...
the mystery schools, but the mystery schools were going on before he was supposedly born. But yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, and then also let's say that like he was a person and he was a person that sucked less than some of the folks around him at the time and was teaching this and that and the other. Let's say that's true. I have no idea to say that any of the things that he said are what was written down. I have no way of like, you know what I mean? I have no idea. So, and then he was probably like, things were taken out of context and things were, you know, I mean, because what did the Roman Catholic Church do when they took that and they took it as the religion of the state? That was like, to me, that's when Christianity lost. Mm-hmm. Like the church and state should never mix ever. And so then the worst atrocities that can be blamed, they try to blame on Christianity. And I say that's not necessarily true. I still blame that on the state. Mm-hmm. But it was done in the name of Christ. Like, let's go murder and pillage a whole bunch of people in the name of Christ.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
it's totally warped. It is. I mean, if you look at the Bible, they say that, you know, God asked his people to go to war against, you know, different factions. But if anything ever taught, it feels like a trap for the souls to keep us in our heads. Yeah, well said, Liberty. Very much so. It's so true. Because, right, Nate, everything is all about control and energy. Right? Now, people will say, I believe in energy. And then going back to that magnetism and that electric. The more you're in your head, the more electric you are, the more susceptible to manipulation. Yeah. Valerie, good point as well. Okay, so we are physical. We can't deny that. You know, there's no getting around it. But again, for us to vibrate, and if you look at all the people that ever taught us, they've been Freemasons. You know, we've been educated. Newton, Darwin, everybody.
It's a fascinating thing. I know. I'm just curious. Like, are Freemasons the baddies? I think in my heart of hearts, I say yes. But at the same time, I've had relationships, like good friendly relationships with Freemasons, and I like, dude, they do have all this knowledge, and half of me says like, God damn it, I want to go in those libraries and read those books. I don't know. Well, is that a psyop too? That like Freemasons are the worst things in the world, or
okay,
I have no idea.
It's you know what, it's all we can go on is what we've presented as a pattern. Right? We all look for patterns, and the pattern that is very clear is that we have been educated, right, on the very people and theories that are playing out now. So like Einstein, dimensions, Helena Blavatsky brought all the spiritual stuff in, Aleister Crowley, ritual magic, again a Mason, Churchill, all of the key players throughout history have been Freemasons. Now, what I'm saying is the lower levels, right? Again, they're baited. It's a divide and conquer. So it's compartmentalized. So those lower members, let's say, they could be good guys, good women, whatever, right? But they're still kind of within this kind of hook where, oh, if you move up a level, you get a bit more knowledge. But what happens when you get to 33, and there are more than 33, right? And it becomes very crooked. If it's that I'm not for war, I'm for peace. But yeah, it's divide and conquer, my man. Divide and conquer. And everything's about energy. So if they can take your energy away from you, so when you pray and you're sending out or a thought outwards, it's not staying within you. It's feeding off you. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I don't know what the fuck Freemasonry is exactly. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's like, you're right that basically every single influential person throughout our history, whatever the fuck history is, because I don't trust half the things that they tell me is history either. There we go. Sorry. I had the sun blasting in my face. Yeah, man, it's psyops within psyops, dude. And I think that history or his story, I don't know, people say that. It's definitely been manipulated. And it's definitely being told to us. They definitely are telling us a narrative to control us. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah, the whole fucking masonry thing is interesting because do you think that it is just a group of folks they're just the controllers, I guess, huh? Is that what it is? Are they the archons?
Yeah. I mean, right. So let's say, arguably, that genetic engineering has always been going on. Let's say that clones have always been here. Yeah, the victor's always right. Well said, Wendy Cho. It's very true. So, yeah, you could say that. So let's look at the Masons, the eye in the triangle, right? So the triangle, that's an A. If you look at the shape of it, the pyramid is like an A. You put the eye in the middle, it's I, AI. It's always been here, and that's the secret that they've always known. But yeah, we're kind of stumbling around and saying, oh, it's this, it's that. But we call it archons, soulless, clones. It's all the same thing, really.
Fucking interesting, man. Fucking interesting. I have some friends that are fucking around with technology. And then I've heard of some other folks that are fucking around with technology right now. And it feels that like we're actually in the midst of like many breakthroughs. I feel like they just haven't, like, to me, it's wild that they're allowing it to happen now, though, too. Because like for decades and decades, let's say like some asshole figured out a way to like drive a car with water. They're going to kill him. Why are they letting this shit happen now? Like, I know some folks that are playing with some shit that's kind of like perpetual energy. Know some folks that are like making some anti-gravitational kind of stuff. I know some folks that are like doing some wild shit. Like even right now, Mazda is fucking around. If anybody listened to Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan, they were talking about it. Mazda is fucking around right now. And I'm not smart enough to understand what the fuck they were talking about, but it kind of sounds like they're gathering energy out of the ether to make a fucking motor that's like running. And they're playing around with it right now.
Yeah.
Why aren't heads rolling? Why are they letting this happen right now? Is this a new shift, a new time? Like, are they going to have they learned how to control it and now they're going to let us have it? Because maybe they couldn't control it before, and maybe that's why they would keep it under wraps. They've figured out a way to monetize it.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, why are they letting us? It feels like we're on the verge of something. Or maybe there's too many people fucking around and they can't control it. Is it bursting at the seams? Have you heard about any of this? Do you know what I'm talking about, Ben?
I do. I honestly, I can't say I do. However, what I'm going to throw in the mix, right, is supposedly Nikola Tesla.
Exactly what Wendy just said. Do you feel like we're just rediscovering the same shit over and over again many lifetimes? Yes, I think these are absolutely old fucking tech that they're just now letting us fuck with.
Okay, right. Now let's take this back to Tesla. Right. When he came up with all these inventions. Now I'm going to put away the time machine one and all that crazy shit. But I'm going to go with free energy. Let's go with that. Let's go out with a few other motors or inventions that he made. Now that was all harnessing alternating current, right? AC. So pulling that in, but the main point is that they took all of his inventions away. Why? Okay, was it about the free energy? Not necessarily, but none of his inventions had artificial intelligence, which was embedded into it, which is what everything is now. So to answer the question, what you were just throwing out there, Nate, it could be all to do with AI and actually integrating it into whatever technology, whatever energy it might be.
Yeah, they learned how to put handcuffs on it.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, they steal the real and they sell you back the fake.
Yeah, big time. Big time. I mean, but you can even go to the point of saying, right, people go on about the pyramids. Oh, the pyramids are great. That they're all about free energy. We don't fucking know. Fact, we don't know that. You just got people shooting from the hip saying, "Oh, it's a free energy device. It's a tachyon chamber. It's a blah 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 blah." We don't fucking know. You weren't there. We weren't there. We're just going on what we've been told by the likes of Billy Carson. Oh, who's got a blue tick?
Yeah, man, I'm very skeptical of a lot of the things that he has to say. I think he's an interesting dude and he has some interesting ideas. But anytime you say you know something, I'm skeptical. You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You don't fucking know. You have an idea. That's cool. I like that. That's neat. You could very well be fucking wrong.
Very much so. And this is probably the point of bringing it back to self. So if we know about us, and this is the point, is that they harvest our energy. So if we're busy believing in all this other shit, and we're not believing in ourselves, then we're just giving ourselves to the system, to the matrix. We're still feeding it, the beast.
Yeah, that's a fascinating idea, dude. Like, just because, like, from the Matrix, right, they were telling us that we are batteries for them, that we are powering their fucking system, right? And I was talking about that with my wife, and it's like, well, if you listen to, I got the book sitting around here somewhere, but anyways, if you listen to, like, someone like David Icke, he'll say that they literally were trying to make you vibrate at these negative frequencies because they thrive off them. They use that energy. That's a fucking fascinating idea. And is it a physical thing that they're thriving off that energy? Like, is it an actual thing like that? Or do you think it's something like, if you're afraid, if you're scared, if you're angry, you are very reactive and they can control that. They can control your reaction. And I think it's partial. Maybe it's both.
Okay, so I break it down probably a little bit more in respect to, right, so you've got your emotions, which is electrical, an electrical response, and your thoughts, which is electrical. So again, divide and conquer with all these words, vibration, this and that. If you're in your mind and you're reading shit and you get fearful, you're in your head. If you stop reading, if you stop feeding the mind, you don't get in that fear. You let go of all that shit. So and then the emotional responses are all programmed. Just like the Holocaust. The moment you say Holocaust around anybody, again, we don't even fucking know if it's real or not. We don't. We know everything's being manipulated. So you mention anything like that around people, and you can feel the emotions. I'll tell you a grand one is Remembrance Sunday, or we have it over here. The moment they play the trumpet, right, for the last stand when they go over the top, fucking hell, you can hear that cut through people and the emotions. They will be remembered. This is and don't get me wrong, I'm all for remembering them, but it's sacrifice, right? We have been conditioned to accept sacrifice. Jesus sacrificed. and it's all about taking the energy, the emotions. So yeah, it's very dual pronged, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, something you said there. Yeah, that's fucking interesting, man. So, these people, are they energy vampires? Are they? Uh, let's go back to the clone thing.
Okay.
So let's talk about clones.
All right.
What are these things? What like the AI and these clones? Do you have a?
They're no different than you and I. And this is right. This is how they pull the wool over our eyes. Right, is the electromagnetic spectrum, the light, what we can see. Let's suggest that once upon a time, many, many, many years ago, we could see our soul through the spectrum of light. So we knew. So okay, I'd see Nate, but then I'd see the true Nate, the soul of you, emanating from within. Or let's say you could see that. But over time, they've reduced that light. So everybody looks the same in respects of we're human, we're living. But what happens if there's a very big divide that, let's say there's 10% of the planet which are souls and 90% are soulless, but they look like you and me, they laugh, they cry, but they don't feel, they don't have that magnetic pulse. And that's the illusion that I feel that we're in.
That's fascinating, man. So theoretically, let's say you marry one of those and you have children with one of those. What are your kids?
Well, again, diluting it down.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big believer that if you've been raped, let's say a woman gets impregnated through rape, let's say, and has the baby, I'm quite a firm believer that maybe a soul hasn't come through because it's come from the mind, right? And this is the point. When you're magnetic, when two souls connect in magnetism, it's a big difference than two people who are just shagging for the sake of it. So yeah, it gets quite interesting. But again, we can only see what we can see. The moral compass, right, of what's right and wrong is what we go by. So needless to say, if somebody harms a child, then fucking hell, of course, off with the head. But yeah, it's tricky times at the moment.
We're getting lots of really interesting comments. And then someone says, "Who the hell is Billy Carson? Came out of nowhere. Where's you wearing sunglasses? Like people came out of nowhere." Okay, yeah. Who the hell is Billy Carson?
Well, he was a movie director, wasn't he? I think, or a producer. So yeah.
Yeah, saying they know, but they don't tell you. It's another loop. Absolutely, Valerie. Yeah, that's fascinating, man. Yeah, I don't know too much about Billy Carson too much. I've seen some of his videos online, and some of the things he says are interesting. But what are your thoughts on things like the Anunnaki? That's what he's obsessed with, right? Like, it's a fascinating idea. I don't think that were there gods that came down here and like we're like monkey hominids and they humped us and like and then made like hybrid babies and
yeah. But honestly, it feels like a crock of shit.
It feels like a crock of shit to me. Yeah,
it does, right? So again, what are kings and queens and gods and goddesses? That's another divide and conquer. It's another.
Yeah, and these people, they claim they're really attached to that idea because that gives them the right of rule.
Yeah.
They have divine right. These psycho fucks. They'll tell you that they have like. Well, I mean, they probably won't openly say it, but they kind of hint around about it, that they have these bloodlines that'll go back to like the Merovingian bloodlines and like go back to Cain and Jesus and.
Yeah, dude, it is source. Trust me, bro. It is as simple as that.
Humped us, Wendy Joe says. Get humped by the Anunnaki. The Watchers, yeah, they supposedly came down here and humped us a good one. Yeah.
Well, okay. All right, so probably the best way. Right, so the guy that transcribed the Anunnaki stuff. Zechariah Sitchin, right? First of all, he's Jewish, right? I'm not anti-Semitic. Secondly, I'm just pointing out the facts here. He was Jewish. He was also a Mason, and he was also a CEO of a shipping company. Now, where does the whole evergreen shipping company stuff come into it? Interesting, right? And also, the more the fact, it kind of reminds you of that South Park episode when they're transcribing the Mormon, the Book of Mormon, dum 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 dum. You know?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, like only he could transcribe it because he was the chosen one. You know.
Yeah, that is fucking fascinating, man. It's just more psyops and bullshit. I don't know. I don't think that there's anything. I don't know. I mean, I liked it. What are your thoughts on like interdimensional beings? Are there weird? Because there's some woo woo in this weird world that we can't see that is outside of our perception.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm dead against dimensions because that dimensions to me is mind control. Because the moment bear with me, I'll throw the counter argument in. So as we know, the light spectrum, we see this much of the light spectrum, right? But it actually goes much bigger. And what happens is, let's call them programs rather than interdimensional entities. These programs work through the electromagnetic frequencies, the fields, right? So they can attach to people, they can go into people's minds, possession, attachment, right? So that can happen, I do believe, yeah. Spirits, let's say the spirits of dead kings and queens or dead gods and goddesses, whatever, jinns, whatever it might be. Yeah, they can travel through that and electromagnetically go into people's minds. Does that make sense?
Okay, and we can't see them because they're on a different like light spectrum, and so you don't like calling it a dimension because that causes separation.
Well, again, the dimension thing, this is my argument about dimensions, is that we only know about dimensions in the physical because we think about it with our brain. But when we die, we don't have a brain. Yeah, well said, Liberty. That's exactly it. And the point is, and again, everything is done with a purpose for now. And you asked earlier about why do you think that they're giving us all this information? Why do you think they're doing all this free energy stuff now? It's all a distraction. They're giving us everything now because it's kind of the end of time, let's say. We're nearing the end of this experiment. And they want us distracted, not focusing on ourselves.
Wendy Joe says, it's like if you want your kids to go to bed at 9 p.m. and you give them the choice between 8 or 8:30 or 9, they'll still go to bed at 9. And that's how I see dimensions. Facade of choice.
Yeah, very much so. But don't forget, everything's about now is the AI agenda. Right? It's all pointing us to be totally mentally, again, Neuralink. Again, talking from experience, doing the meditations and all this shit, going through dimensions, it was just mind control. I wasn't here in the now. I was busy in my mind going somewhere else to nowhere, really. So,
It's fucking interesting, man. Like you said about light spectrums and different things and things being around us. I don't know this to be a fact, but I've heard this, that the military used to use. So there's like a green spectrum that they use for night vision right now, right? They used to use a red spectrum for night vision. And apparently how the story goes is if they were like up in airplanes and like, I don't know, helicopters and stuff. And if they were using those red spectrums, they would start to see these like freaky shit. They were starting to see some like scary faced like monster things out there.
Okay.
And they were starting to get so many reports and people like freaking the fuck out because apparently these things are like around them and surrounding them, but like don't necessarily interact. Like they'll interact as far as like they're watching you, watching them and shit, but they don't like hurt you. And so like, and they were like told to like, just ignore them, just do your job, shut up. And so, but like people would freak the fuck out. They'd be like, there's something on the wing. What the fuck is that? And like, and so that they actually had to change the spectrum to that now what you see is the green spectrum so that you can't see those things.
Okay, interesting.
And I like that story a lot. I don't know if that's true. I want it to be true. That's because it's interesting.
It does sound cool, doesn't it? Very cool. Now, you could arguably say then that anything that's died leaves a residual electrical spirit, right? So spirit is the imprint of your physical body. So when you die, my spirit goes into the different spectrum of light. You just can't perceive it. So what people might be seeing are all the different genetic experiments that have happened on Earth, which have been collated in the unseen spectrum. So they could be reptiles, they could be fucking flying demon things, whatever, but they might have just been a different experiment.
That's interesting. What are your thoughts on a creator? Is this all created? Because you're saying like the experiment's up. Who's doing this experiment? Who's in charge? Is there somebody in a white lab coat that's making this happen? Are they on the outside of this, or are they on the inside of this? Are they a human like us? Or
okay, so
what's the experiment? In your opinion, obviously you don't. Yeah.
I don't know. The feeling I get is the creator, the true creator, right, is that of soul. Mason Illuminati regurgitates that all over again. I'm supposed to be that the black guys are coming back to save me. You know, this is crazy. This is what I'm losing my mind. Valerie, get out of your mind, love. Get into your heart. That's the main thing. Doesn't matter if you're coloured, if I'm white, whatever. But yeah. So, all right. So the true creator would be where your life force comes from. Your life force is your soul. It's not your physical body, because your physical body was made by mum and dad humping. Right. Your soul then comes in. So your true creator is where your soul comes from. Now, as far as this experiment's concerned, I've always had this residual feeling within me that whoever controls the inner earth controls the earth. I can't explain it. So whatever goes on in there, whoever's controlling it, just like the Wizard of Oz, you know, behind his green curtain, whoever's pulling the strings there are not of soul, right? The feeling I get is they are AI. And it's been so ingrained here for thousands and thousands of years that we've just accepted it as normal.
Do you think this was a man-made AI? Was this created by like past generations, and this technology was like lost, but this AI still like we made something godlike, and it's still in charge, sort of thing? Or
so let's arguably say we created this experiment, this physical journey for ourselves, for our soul to experience the physical, right? So let's say we did that. But in order to govern this experiment, we needed something to control the weather, something to do light and day, light and dark, to give us food. So let's say we put in these AI, this governing thing, God. Let's call it God. God is the governing AI. But what happened is that maybe somebody became jealous, right? Maybe somebody from soul, and they talk about the fallen angels and all this shit, but let's actually take that stigma away. Let's say somebody from soul got jealous because of what was created. So they then found a way of creating or manipulating that AI to suit their needs, right? So they could always control this illusion. And that's been happening for thousands and thousands of years, let's say.
And it's a group of folks that walk around with a compass on their smocks.
Maybe so, dude. Yeah. And they could have been promised the earth. They could have been promised, you know, next time you come in, we'll make sure that your next life is perfect and you'll be rich and you won't have to worry about anything. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, so where are we coming from? Where's the spirit being created? Do you think that we are just perpetually like the amount of souls or spirits is the same amount? Do you think that there always have been and we're just kind of like recycling? Or do you think there's new spirits being created?
Okay, so there's always new spirits being created. So, so when your soul comes into body, when your soul comes into body, right, your soul and your spirit are different. So if I was to pop my cogs, the physical me would be a spirit. My soul would fuck off. It would leave out of the spectrum until it's cooled back in again. There's a limited amount of souls, but the spirit can be reproduced.
That's what I'm wondering about. Okay.
Yeah. The spirits can be reproduced and made. AI probably creates a spirit because it's the electrical field.
Interesting. So there's a limited amount of souls. So maybe, like in the same way that water is the same thing, like water fucks off and goes up into the atmosphere, comes back down as rain. We drink it, we pee it, it goes back up, it evaporates, comes back like in a cycle like that. Do you think that's kind of how like souls kind of work their way in this place? And so we're the original souls. We've been here forever and we're going to be here. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is the time where we can take the power back. Now, people want to believe in magic and all this crazy stuff, right? Which I'm not saying I don't believe in it, but it's just manipulation of the electromagnetism. Whereas the real magic is the soul. So when people start loving themselves, going through the trauma, going through the programming, fucking it all off, taking their power back in their heart, the soul.
But what if they're a clone and they don't have a soul?
Maybe. Now I'm going to throw a curveball in. So let's say Ascension and Rapture are for the NPCs. Right?
And maybe the NPCs are so busy doing their other programming that they'll never listen to this, and they're never gonna be interested in anything like that because they're gonna be watching like Kim Kardashian twerk or something.
Yeah, it's true, but it's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Spiritual, that's a lot of me. Exactly. So let's say you've had 1,000 lifetimes, mate. Right? There's 1,000 parts of you in spirit out there. Right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you were, Conan the Barbarian. Let's make that shit up. Let's say you were Conan, or some other dude, and then maybe you're a woman one time. Whatever. You exist in that spirit, in that spectrum of light, 1,000 times.
Okay, and so is that what ghosts are? Are they like when people experience ghosts? Are they just little fragments rather of spirit?
Yeah. That's
okay.
But again, and it's funny that you mention that because we get indoctrinated about ghosts, Ghostbusters and paranormal witch, hunting and this and that. But really, it's just spirit.
We're going paranormal hunting. We're going to make a little video about it pretty soon. But this will give me some. This will give me some insight of what I'm dealing with because I still have the Christianity really firmly I don't know. I have Christian prejudices. Like I'm scared as fuck of Ouija boards. That's demonic. But I know that because we're going to go to this pioneer graveyard. There's going to be one of the oldest pioneer graveyards in the country is this weird little pioneer graveyard that's out here. And I know my buddy, his name is Ben as well. He's going to bust out a Ouija board. We're supposed to communicate with some old dead pioneers. That freaks me the fuck out. But what are we even talking to? Are there malevolent entities? Are there, or we're just going to be talking to some weird fragments of old spirits or
very much. Okay, so you're going to get a mix, right? But okay, and this is kind of what gets me as well. That people will go to graveyards, right? If you're a spirit, right? If I've died, I'm not going to go and hang around where I've been buried. I'm going to go hang around the people that knew me. Don't be scared. Man.
Don't be scared. Okay, thank you, Liberty.
Yeah, very true. Don't be scared, man. But let's say there's a mix. Let's say there's AI programs and spirits there as well. So you got a whole mix of different bags, and you don't know what you're going to get through. But I'll tell you how it works. So your electromagnetic output and your friend Ben, when you're touching that glass, what you're doing is you're creating a breach in the electromagnetic spectrum. You're giving it power for something to be able to move that and to talk to you.
Are we just haunting ourselves? That makes sense. LOL. That many of me is terrifying. That is fascinating, Wendy Joe. We might be terrifying and haunting ourselves.
Probably, yeah. It's pretty tardy when you think about it, isn't it?
Fascinating, man. Yeah. It's an interesting thing, dude. This world is more complicated and less complicated.
It really is. But again, the devil is in the detail. How do you spell detail? Detail, right? So the less you get out of your head, the less you're in your head, the more in your heart you are, the stronger you will be.
Fascinating, man. What do you think about so what is it going to look like when this experiment is over? What does that mean? In your opinion, what do you think this is? Is everything coming to a screeching halt?
Maybe so. Honestly, I couldn't answer that, dude. It's a feeling. Again, it's not logical. It's just a feeling that, shit's going to melt, basically. Right? So it's a magnetic, the electrical overlay, the ether, that's going to go. That's going to go. Right? And that's the element of control. Nate's wheels are turning. Nice.
It's about time. They need to turn.
I hope you got your thinking, yeah.
Yeah, man. This is fucking interesting, man. This has been fun. Let's see here. Oh, dude, you just touched on so many different things. So just the nature of fucking reality, what we're dealing with. We've got a whole bunch of fucking clones. So do you think that these clone bodies, interesting. And we're dealing with some AI inside of the Earth, which it's fascinating to me. Like, as far as like endings go, I don't know how much can be controlled or I know that supposedly we are. I just said I know. I don't fucking know anything. I've heard that we are that we are entering some sort of like time where we're close to some meteor showers, and that this is like correlating with like the Younger Dryas and like this whole like solar minimum. Like, do you think that has anything to do with? Do you think that's how they're ending this experiment?
Okay, so time is based on the sun and the moon rotating, revolving. Yeah. So let's say time is speeding up.
It feels that way.
It does, doesn't it? You can't deny that. It does feel like it is. So if it's speeding up, then arguably you could say time is going to stop eventually. But maybe the whole experiment is based on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. So things are a lot more physical than we give them credit for. Yeah. So as far as this being like, when people try to explain this as being a simulation, it sort of is, but it's more like a physical set instead of being like a projection out of. Yeah,
very much so.
Interesting, man. What are your thoughts on what the fuck are aliens, Ben? Do aliens exist?
Well, honestly, I used to buy into all that shit.
Me too.
The truth is out there, X-Files, you name it. But then you got to look at it, right? Steven Spielberg, he was one of the, he did Close Encounters, E.T. Now we know Spielberg's a piece of shit. So why would he be telling us the truth about that? Again, it's programming our minds to believe in something bigger. But let's say that aliens do exist, but not as we know, that they're spelled AILIENS. So the AI created genetic engineered entities. Inner Earth. Like, because we know we're in a dome, we know we're in a controlled loop. So how the fuck can they get out or in when it's unpenetratable.
I very much agree with you that we are in a controlled little, we have a candy coating around us and we can't get out.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I'm very fucking skeptical of aliens, especially the way that they're being pushed. This has been like, and like the government hasn't acknowledged aliens, but every single TV show, every single movie, like all these celebrities are talking about aliens now, and now the government is pushing these UFOs.
Yeah,
it's interesting, dude. Anytime that this starts to become mainstream, you need to fucking start questioning. And Project Bluebeam is real, dude. I think that these are going to be projected holograms of it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It is fucking fascinating because I think that have you ever read Ender's Game?
No, I've seen it though. I've watched it. I haven't read it.
The book is fantastic. I haven't watched the movie.
Okay.
But it's the same concept with that. It's the same concept with Watchmen. If you've read or seen Watchmen, that if we create an outside enemy that's scary enough, then the world will have to come together. And how are we going to do that efficiently? Well, we're going to have one world government to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's it. Order out of chaos. That's their motto.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well, what they do is they create the problem. So let's say the problem for centuries has been divide and conquer. Then they create the solution. So they're always in control. Can you explain realism, reality, and simulation? I think people are confused now. They see things or real physical reactions when they hear things are not real. Well, again, defining what is real. Real is real what you can touch. Oh, fucking hell, I'm starting to sound like Morpheus now. But you just got to trust your heart. It doesn't matter what is real and what's not. As long as you trust your heart, you trust your soul, believe in you, that's the main thing. It's hard to distinguish between what is real because, as we know, everything is CGI. You can manipulate anything on digital now. You know, people talk about the Mandela effect. Oh, but this got changed, this got edited. No shit, anything can be edited through Photoshop, through really good green screens, whatever. We cannot trust our eyes.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gone so many different places. Because what is real? You could say like my feelings or like what I do, but you're like almost everything you do is being manipulated from the outside, and so your reaction to something is that real if what you did was manipulated. You know, that whole concept. But I want to go to something, what you said about the Mandela effect. Dude, I heard this the other night on some other podcast. I wish I could give them credit because I just forget who the hell it was. But they were talking about how, oh man, I probably could come up with an answer. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. Shout out to whoever said this. You're fucking smart and I like you. They were talking about how in Islam, some of the dudes that, I don't know. It can't be all Muslims, but so like maybe their priestly class, whatever you call them, they memorize the Quran word for word, every fucking word, and they say this specifically because they were told by like God or something, or it said that like jinn are able to manipulate things on the earth, but they can't manipulate your memory. So that's why because they very much accept the idea of the Mandela effect, and they think that it's absolutely real and that the jinn is like fucking with manipulation or like manipulating the world around us all the time. And that's why they have to fucking like memorize shit. I think that's really fucking fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'd probably argue the fact that there's technology that can manipulate anything these days, with it, memories, illness, you name it. So I find that a bit hard not to believe. They call them jinns, but
jinns, demons, archons, yeah.
It's difficult. How can you trust?
That's an interesting thing, yeah. So like, it is interesting because like, I don't know what the fuck the nature of this reality is, because we're saying that maybe it's more physical and it's less a simulation. If it was a simulation, then you could imagine these archons could literally like grab my book and change what's inside of it.
Yeah.
like from somewhere far away. But if we're in a physical place, they can't necessarily do that. And so maybe their only way is to manipulate your mind and try to manipulate your memories and trying to like make you second guess things.
Well, there's that as well. And now everything is pretty much digital. You can't buy VHS anymore. You can't buy cassettes. Everything is digital. You don't get CDs. So they can.
And in that way, they can change things in real time. Absolutely. I remember that concept. Like, I think it was Kanye West was the first time that I'd ever heard this. I didn't know that they could do that. So, like, let's say you buy one of his albums from like back in the day digitally. He has the fucking ability to change this song because he doesn't like it anymore. Like because he can go back and he can like I want the beat to actually be like this. He can go back, and so you can never actually listen to that song if you bought it digitally. Like I have his first album like on a CD. I have College Dropout, fucking fantastic album. I can listen to that and it's going to be the same because I put it in a player and I listen to it. But if you had bought it digitally, he might change his mind and be like, I don't like how that beat sounded, so I'm going to change it retroactively. And then that's just the song now.
Wow.
That's interesting. And so like, but that was like an example of it happening like real world and not necessarily in a nefarious way. But I mean, dude, I think that is the big push to put everything on like digital archives, right? Like I don't even think they want you to have history textbooks anymore. Pretty soon they're gonna just have like fucking digital fucking things for you to read so that they can update history. They can keep up, like you can see what they're doing like real time with words, like how they have the dictionary. They'll change things like for like woke bullshit. And then all of a sudden this is what it was and it's always been this, and if you say it's not, then
yeah, it's so easy to manipulate anything. And again, people's emotions getting attached to the illusion, and that's the most difficult part for everybody, is not getting attached.
So that they have to do that they have to put everything digitally so that they can manipulate everything retroactively tells me that we're in a physical universe and not necessarily like a woo-woo spiritual one, because then they wouldn't have to do that.
Exactly, yeah. Now I do believe in respects of the electrical overlay, the ether, that does project maybe the story, as far as going forward, that then plays out into physical. So, when people say, I can see the future, yeah, they can probably see elements of it. But again, if that was the case, why did nobody see or do anything about World War I or II? Why did nobody do anything about the Vietnam War?
Well, I think that because no one person could stop it.
Okay.
I think that shit is so complex and it was building in so many different directions. Like World War II has so many fucking reasons why that went off. I think that was one of those things like you see yourself barreling off a cliff and you can't stop it. Yeah. But
you can
maybe one person can stop. Maybe someone could have stopped like the JFK shooting.
Maybe so.
Right. But nobody could have stopped World War II. Maybe. I don't know.
You're right, but again, going back to the players, we know that the UK monarchs were the German monarchs. So you've got that bit playing out. You've got the Masons then playing out that sit over government. So all this shit was just a huge sacrifice. Going back to it. So yeah.
Yeah, man. What Liberty just said makes sense, that they push you to keep things in your head, and like alcohol and other drugs. It is fascinating, like during all of these like lockdowns and through all of these, what do you call that? See, I probably drink too much alcohol and it's affecting my mind. But through all of these supply issues that they've had, alcohol is very widely available. They've never had any fucking shortages. They were deemed necessary. So liquor stores stayed open through the height of the pandemic. My restaurants had to close, like schools had to close, but the liquor store was still open 24 hours a day. pretty fucking fascinating. And they are pushing weed like a motherfucker. And the weed that they're pushing right now is not the same thing that your dad smoked that used to grow out of the ground. This shit is, I think, designed to make you go a little schizoid. I think they've manipulated it in a lot of different ways. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. Do you know what? I'd arguably say that the hippies were beta tests.
Yeah.
It was a beta test for technology, mind control, weed, LSD, hallucinogens, all of that shit. We're just now like we're on, seats, Charlie time or whatever. You know what I mean? As opposed to, yeah.
Ben, what are your thoughts on hallucinogens? What are your thoughts on psychedelics?
It fucks up your neural pathways, right? Right. So if I take a trip now, again, I used to do this. I used to take DMT a lot. I used to take trips, mushrooms. That shit is not happening outside of my mind. It's all happening up here.
Yes. Yeah. So do you think that there is some sort of veil that you're touching and that it does it allow you to see other things, or do you think it's all just in your fucking head?
I think it's all neural manipulation, dude.
Because they really are starting to push this whole psychedelic thing, which is fascinating because, dude, I like it. Like, for the most part, like, I love fucking mushrooms. I like but it is inside. So I like that it forces me to, like, ask myself fucking questions that I've been afraid to. I like that it makes me confront things that I am not dealing with. I like that, and those sort of things. I think that it can be beneficial because it forces yourself to look at yourself and deal with some shit.
I'm a big advocate of microdosing, right? For healing purposes. And this is the problem where people then become dependent of taking a substance to feel good.
Yeah.
And that's my issue. And then again, that neural hacking, they start seeing
it should be a tool, but it can become a crutch. Exactly what you're saying, that then you feel it's necessary for you to do that to go through your fucking dirty laundry in your head. And it should be a fucking a tool that kind of shows you how to do it. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Let's see here. It says if they are pushing it a lot, then it should be a red flag to not abuse it. Yes. It's fascinating, dude, because right now at Royal College in London, I think they're pushing, or not necessarily pushing, but they're exploring a DMT where they are using it. They've somehow fucked with it. Are they smoking it? They're injecting it. They're injecting it so people are at there, because if you fucking smoke DMT, it's 15 minutes maybe, then you're back, right? They're doing it in a certain way where they're slow dripping it, so you're at your maximum height high for an hour.
But
yeah, and they're exploring it right now where they're having people write down what they're seeing, hearing, experiencing. And the fascinating thing, though, is that a lot of these people, they're separating them, but they're all seeing the same things. They're all hearing the same things. They're all experiencing things that are very similar. And that kind of leads to maybe this idea that whatever that is real. But maybe not. I don't know. Because they'll say things like when you die, your body is supposed to dump a fuck ton of DMT, right? Apparently. Supposedly. I don't know. Yeah. But supposedly your body's supposed to dump a shit ton. And maybe that people have said then maybe that's the fucking veil opening so that your spirit can shoot into something else. I don't know.
Honestly, it doesn't feel
I like how skeptical you are, Ben. This is fucking good. I need this because
I don't it doesn't feel good. It does not feel right to me at all. And do you know what? Everybody talks about the third eye, right, and opening it up and the pineal gland. It's just another device of control. Anybody, right? So Jordan Peterson, Dr. Joe Dispenza, all of these big names that talk about controlling your mind, controlling your reality. You cannot control your mind in that respect because we're already in this game, this system, this illusion, which is predetermined. So we cannot change anything in our minds in relation to, it's all about harvesting and controlling us. So, and this whole DMT stuff, I'm very skeptical. Right? Okay, so let's talk about the Borg, Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Collective consciousness. They all see the same thing. They're all plugged into AI. That's where we're going.
Interesting. That's what they want. Yeah. They want no one to have any individuality, nothing unique, special about them. They want you to be part of a collective where you are obedient, subservient. And I mean, you don't even have the choice of obedience. You just do what you're told.
Exactly. And that's it. And all you have to do is go on TikTok, go on your For You page and scroll 20 times. Out of those 20 times, I can guarantee you $100. 2 people will be talking about chakras. Other people will be talking about meditation. Other people will be talking about third eye. It's so predictable, dude. You can see it. The zombie apocalypse is here, but it's not as we kind of believed it to be. It's up here. So
what do we do? What is it? What is your answer? What does Ben do?
Feel. I don't research. I don't read anything. I don't feel the need. I've dealt with my traumas. I've dealt with my programming. Still got probably a few more programs to deal with eventually. But just get back to your authentic state. Third eye
is sus. Yes, thank you, Wendy. Yeah, man, that is fucking fascinating, and I'm trying to feel things out. It's an interesting thing, man. I think I get lost in my mind a lot,
and that's what they want, mate. What they want. And again, I'll always and this is how I work with my clients. I don't just do podcasts and create content. I'm actually really good at what I do, and what I'll say to you, dude, is if you ever feel like you're lost in your head, just go back to that feeling of your kids, that feeling of love, and that will pull you back.
Yeah, man. I think I think you're definitely onto something, because I can feel drawn in my head where I'm existing in my head, and I'll have these conversations. I'll have like these ideas that are flowing, but I'm not in the present at all.
Right.
I'm not in the fucking present at all. And like my wife will be like, "Where the fuck are you?" And I'm like, sorry. And like my son's there and he's like looking at me like, "Dad," and I'm like, "Yeah, man. Yeah." So I mean, I guess that's, and gurus have said that before too. So maybe that's part of manipulation as well. But like the present is all we have right now. This is what we have.
Exactly. Now, what you said about yourself, mate, times that by a couple of billion people. Imagine how unstable reality is in that respect. How much energy is being harvested from people that are just lost away, in the clouds.
What's harvesting this energy?
Again, how you said about the rain going up, precipitation going up, the clouds forming, dropping. Let's say in the unseen spectrum, there is like this water fountain which sucks it all up, piezoelectromagnetic, where it sucks up all the energy, it feeds the system, and it comes back out. So it's like this non-stop. So it's helping producing the ether, let's say.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And what's going on in this physical world as far as like, so what do you think about things like the elite? Because we've heard these things before, stories of vampires, stories of like what the hell were their last names? I can't think of them. Anyways, these folks, do you think that these folks are fucking eating people? Do you think that they're people eating people? Do you think, is this all more psyops and bullshit?
It could be. No, I without a shadow of a doubt, we know abuse happens. Right? I think maybe the whole adrenochrome thing, I think maybe that might be a bit of a psyop. But as far as child abuse, we know that happens, so I'm not going to deny that. But maybe that happens to actually keep people or children unable to connect with their soul. Maybe it's got a different purpose rather than You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to have someone on that we're going to go through. I don't know if she's had experiences with it, but she is really fucking educated on like SRA, like the satanic ritual abuse sort of thing, like, and it being like tied to like the MK Ultra type of things, like, and the whole thing is that I think it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the same thing because like people were talking about how like in the 80s they were talking about how there was all this like talk about SRA, the satanic ritual abuse, and how it kind of disappeared. And but it also, well, okay, no, they were more talking about how like MK Ultra kind of ended and then the SRA started. Because like if you look like 50s, 60s, 70s, then it kind of fizzles out and then it turns into this SRA like in the 80s. And I'm like, I don't think that it ever ended. I think that that is just like a continuation of it and that like an evolution of it. But like you said, to like fracture people, to type of break people's minds, to, yeah, I think that's basically what it was all about. Because like, I don't think they talk about wanting to like tear people down uh, to their foundation, like they want to erase who they were so that they could build them back up again and like create something new. But I don't know if that was even ever the case. I don't think that you can create something new out of that, or you can't control what it is.
No, you can shape people to what you want. So if you scare somebody enough or you traumatize, trauma is the biggest mind control tool that there is. Fear porn, exactly.
Make people feel helpless, angry, and scared. Yeah. So how much of it are they doing to us? And like, I think that they maybe were doing experiments and they were playing around. And I think now they just have to like make us watch TV.
Yeah.
And they can do it. People that are glued to like CNN.
Well, you see, a lot of people focus on the tell-eye vision. It's not necessarily the device, it's what's being projected through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the programming behind it. So whatever it might be, it's still programming the mind. So it's a tricky one. Yeah. There's so many distractions out there, dude. So many.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, and I don't know about the whole adrenochrome thing either. I mean, I go back and forth whether or not I think it's real. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I think that there are people that are doing well. Okay, so playing devil's advocate again, as far as like adrenochrome being real. Think about people like Peter Nygard. It's like these folks that were trying to extend their lives. They want to live forever, right? Where he was like getting sex workers to get pregnant so that they would abort their fetuses so that he could use his own fetuses to try to prolong his life and things like that.
It's very impossible. And then we get into stem cells, aren't we? Yeah, it's a difficult one. Then you could arguably say, well, hang on, what's the deterioration of clones like? Maybe that's why they need it, is that as a clone, their genetic makeup isn't particularly good, so they need it. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah, I don't know. We could do this all day. This was a lot of fun, brother.
Thank you.
Ben, I appreciate you, man. You have definitely given me, I'm going to have to listen to this a few times because there were so many points where, like, I'm still fucking out of it. I just got over some sort of cold. But there were so many things that you said that made me want to jump over here or there. And I just can't organize my thoughts very well at the moment. But Ben, you've given me a lot to think about, dude. This was a lot of fun. And you've definitely slaughtered some sacred cows today. And that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, mate. I really appreciate the invite as well.
Well, do you want to tell our audience one more time where they can find you on the TikToks or all the
on TikTok at Merlin Mofo or the Soul Whisperer OG, and all my details are there as well. I'll send you a link, Nate, if you can maybe pop it on the description for the post.
Absolutely, man.
Cheers, man. And yeah, and also I've got an event coming up this Friday. So if you want to come and learn more about yourself, please do have a look. I'll put that in with Nate as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers, brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Cheers, Nate.